Hello guys and welcome back to WAG. I am your host, Nene. So I realised that last Sunday just gone was meant to be podcast Sunday, but things keep going up and down at the moment and it's not great. But we are here and I have decided to do this podcast now. A little bit late, but it is here. And obviously if you're new to my podcasts, or Chinwag in general, then you are aware that it is literally just what it says on the tin. It's a chinwag. It is basically a discussion of certain topics, or basically anything that springs to mind. And if you are unaware, I also have a YouTube channel which is called Nays Plays, Nays space Plays, and there's various content on there, so yeah, you can check that out if you like. So yeah, we are doing this podcast, and today's topic is one of peculiar interest, one that's got me very intrigued, and one that I would like to step into the shoes of myself, kind of. And it's the whole idea of the future, and I've discussed this on a couple of the other episodes very, very briefly, on where do we see ourselves going with life and things like that. But today's episode is called Singularity, and when will we all become superhumans or biomechanical humanoids or robots, whichever you prefer. And as I say, I've discussed this briefly on other episodes, on like the future, on how we see ourselves and things like that. And it got me thinking that we are moving towards it very, very quickly. And going on to what I mentioned before with Elon Musk, he's trying to find a way of either downloading our consciousness when we die, downloading our consciousness onto a computer, or copying our consciousness, or taking our brain essentially from someone who's passed away, taking a brain and putting it into a machine or a computer or even a robot, sort of like RoboCop. Obviously that's still science fiction, but essentially what you do is you take we've all seen RoboCop, right? If you haven't, it's about a cop who is fatally wounded in the line of duty, and basically they take his face and his brain and build a robot and put his brain and his face onto this robot, and he is essentially RoboCop. So yeah, essentially you could keep the brain alive, providing you give it oxygen and blood flow and what have you. But yeah, that's like something that I personally wouldn't mind jumping into. I've laughed and joked about it with my friends and family, like, when I die, I'm going to send my brain up to science and let Elon Musk bang it into a computer or something, stuff like that. But on a serious note, that's something I wouldn't mind, doing or considering doing, because that would be epic. To continue to see the world develop, not so much immortality, like my body is gone, but my consciousness, my brain, my awareness will ultimately continue. And as I say, that's something that would be intriguing, and I would happily volunteer for that. The whole point of Singularity, and if we become robots and things like that, and sort of like, mixed cyborgs. If you've ever played the game Cyberpunk 2077, a little bit like that. It's interesting. It's very interesting. Very interesting. And, I wouldn't mind, as I say, doing that sort of thing, like taking my brain, putting it into a computer or something like that. But Elon Musk is working on it, and supposedly he will have it done by, so I read, 2055, which isn't far away. It's not really that far. But I'm just looking online here for a quick second. I want to read something to you now. About Singularity, and let's do it. So we will start. This article was posted on the 16th of November, 2021. Let's get into it. So, in 1903, the Wright brothers showed the world the first sustained flight. In less than 60 years, Yuri Gagarin became the first person in space and orbited the Earth. In 1993, Tim Berners-Lee made public the source code for the World Wide Web. 30 years later, everything from our fridges to our watches are plugged in. In 1953, Rosalind Franklin, James Watson, and Francis Crick discovered the double helix of DNA. Within 50 years, we mapped the human genome. 20 years later, we are using CRISPR or CRISPR to edit DNA. Something that the COVID people are talking about, but that is a subject for a completely different day. In 1992, Garry Kasparov laughed at how embarrassing his computer chess opponent was within 5 years. He was beaten by one. Technology has a habit of running away from us. When a breakthrough occurs or a floodgate opens, explosive exponential growth often follows. And, according to futurologist Ray Kurzweil, we are only an historical moment away from the singularity. Now we have a captioned subheadline, This Weak and Mortal Body. The singularity, for Kurzweil, is defined as a future period during which the pace of technology change will be so rapid, its impact so deep, that human life will irreversibly be transformed. The idea is that discovery and progress will explode an unexpected fury. We often fail to appreciate what exponential growth actually means and how rapidly it brings about change. For instance, if we were to double the processing power of a computer every year, within 7 of these doublings, our computer's power would have increased 128-fold. There are more innovators and scientists today, and they have more efficient tools and methods. The conclusion that Kurzweil draws is that technology advancement is now doubling every decade. Though he fails to cite a source for that, according to him, we are only a few decades from the point where things really take off, when we enter a breathtaking, abrupt, and completely transformed new world. That could be in the terms of humanoids. For some, the singularity will be a utopia. For others, it will be a Terminator-style nightmare. Kurzweil is certainly of the former. Kurzweil sees the weakness in our human frailty, or what he calls 1.0 biological bodies. Yes, we have Rembrandt. I can't even pronounce that word. I always do this. Newton and Saint Cyans, but it's also true that much human thought is derivative. That's the word. Derivative. Petty and circumscribed, not circumcised, circumscribed, which is why the singularity cannot come fast enough. It is time to ditch these lumbering flesh sacks of violent barbarity. The next epoch. The next epoch. Yeah, epoch, that's the word. Kurzweil sees the universe in terms of 6 great epochs. They begin with physics and chemistry in creating the universe, then carbon-based compounds became more and more intricate until life emerged. Eventually, intelligence evolved, as did the human brain, which then allowed us to create greater and greater and greater technology. And so we arrive at our epochal moment. The next great leap for the universe will be when humans and technology merge. Just have a moment to think about that. When humans and technology merge. That is a big thing. And quite a scary one as well. Like, how do you merge with technology? Would it be, painful? I don't know, but quite an interesting thing there. This does not mean using Google Maps to find your way home. It means that our very biology will become enmeshed with the technology we create. Bionics is, I think, what they're referring to there. We'll continue reading on here. I'm just scrolling up. It means that our very biology will become enmeshed with the technology we create. It is the age of bionics. Yes. As such, the machines we make will allow us to transcend the human brain's limitations and of a mere 100 trillion extremely slow connections, and overcome age-old human problems, and vastly amplify creativity. It will be a transcendent next stage. Humanity will, with silicon in our brains and titanium in our bodies. Whether this means an evil, godlike elite enslaving us all, or some omnipresent idol, Kurzweil is uncharacteristically unsure. Cold water on a circuit board. How likely is all this? What cold water might there be thrown onto it? The first idea to challenge is how likely it is that technology will progress in a way that will lead to either general artificial intelligence or sophisticated bionic enhancements to our own minds and bodies. Most of Kurzweil's estimates, as well as those of other futurologists like Eliza Yudkowsky, are built on previous and existing hardware developments. But, as philosopher David Chalmers argues, the biggest bottleneck on the path to AI is software, not hardware. Having a mind or general human intelligence involves all manner of complicated and unknown neuroscientific and physiological questions. So hardware extrapolation is not a good guide here. Having a mind is a different kind of step altogether. It is not like doubling flash drive memory size. Second, there is no necessary reason that there will be exponential growth of the kind of futurologists depend on. Past technological advances do not guarantee similar future advances. There is also the law of diminishing returns. It could be that even though we have more collective intelligence working more efficiently, we will still get less out of it. Apple today is the richest company in the world with the finest minds in computer science working for them. Yet, it is plainly obvious that the most recent iDevices seem less exciting or innovative than their previous renditions. Kurzweil and his supporters may well rely that a world of enhanced intelligence in which we might see a 20% increase in intelligence is surely outside the remit of diminishing returns. As Chalmers points out, even among humans, relatively small differences in design capacities, say the difference between Turing and an average human, seem to lead large differences in the systems that are designed. There might be a cap or diminishing return to what existing human intelligence can achieve. But what about when we can enhance this? The third objection is that there are a lot of situational or event type obstacles that can conceivably get in the way of the singularity. It might be that there is a terrible slate wiping global war, or something to do with COVID, or another pandemic might wipe us, most of us out. Maybe nanotechnology turns our brains to mush. Perhaps AI wreaks terrible disasters on the world. Or maybe we simply run out of the resources required to build and develop technology. Taken alone, each of these might pose trifling chances, but when you stack up all the possible dead ends and setbacks, it is enough to question how foregone a conclusion the singularity really is. How you view Kurzweil will depend largely on your existing biases, and perhaps how much science fiction you have read. It is certainly true that to say that technology in the last century has increased at a rate far beyond that of the past centuries and millennia. The world of the 2020s is unrecognizable compared to that of the 1920s. Our great-great-grandfathers would look at the world today as they would an H.G. Wells novel. But it is equally true that there are many obstacles in the way of unlimited technological progress. We ultimately do not know if this rocket is going to take off, or if it does, whether it will hit a very hard glass ceiling. And that is the end of that. Sorry, I have something in my eye. That is the end of that read. But it does beg the question, really, doesn't it? There are benefits to this, to us stepping forward into a, let's say, biomechanical future, or where AI is running the show, so to speak, or whether it is a lot like, Cyberpunk 2077, or could it be more like Detroit Become Human, which I'm currently doing a playthrough on my YouTube channel, so go check that out. I'll be returning to Cyberpunk 2077 at some point as well. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting, as are most of the topics that I talk about, but it baffles the mind. It really does baffle the mind. Can you imagine, let's say in 20, 30 years, where technology is going to be? You look at the technology we have that has jumped forward in the past 20 years. Look at the phones we have. Look at the devices we have, the consoles, the computers, the vehicles. Everything has done a super leap forward. A super leap forward. I mean, I know it's just a minor thing, but I remember having a gaming console, I think it was a Sega Mega Drive, and I was blown away by it. But in today's standard, very pixelated, 2D graphics, in some cases, very minor 3D graphics. But like, wow. And you look at games now, and it's like an interactive movie. The games you play these days are not essentially games, they are interactive movies. You can play a story-based game and feel in depth with it and enjoy it like you enjoy a film, or like Call of Duty. You can feel like you're actually on fighting a war. It's nuts. It really is nuts. AI is jumping. We have I'm going to whisper it because my Alexa will go off, but we have Alexas and we have Google Assists and all the rest of it. But it's nuts, and some people even are like, well, is the AI that we use listening to us? Does Google listen to us on our phones? Are we being spied on through our cameras on our phones? Things like that. It's nuts. It is nuts. And to jump forward another 10, 20, maybe 30 years and see where it's going to go. Wow. Hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, that COVID will be, I won't say gone, but diminished to a point where we can live comfortably again, I would say. Personally, I don't think COVID's going anywhere. But, it's something that obviously we are eventually going to have to, I guess, live with. Whether you get vaccinated or whether you don't get vaccinated, or whether, there's different variants or whatever. We are going to have to find a way to live with COVID. It's going to be one of them that we unfortunately have to coexist with, as with many of the, viruses and bugs and germs that are out there. But, it is what it is. But that's a different topic for a different day. But yeah, as I say, the AI, the biomechanic engineering, are we going to be turning into Robocop sort of people? It's nuts, absolutely nuts. I like the idea of, enhancing one's self, having no ailments, being able to do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do. Like I picture, a person who is, limited by what they can do, like a disabled person who can't walk, give him biomechanical legs, and off he goes for a run, something he's not been able to do or enjoy. Someone who, lost their arm in an accident, give them a biomechanical arm, they can now work efficiently. They can do things that they probably would never be able to do, If someone's blind in an eye, can we give them a biomechanical eye so that they can see, and wire a retina up to where their brain would be, and give them a bionic eye? It's nuts. There are benefits to this, but obviously, again, there are flaws. But that balances out with everything. You think about everything, there is good and bad in everything. You watch a film, you could take positive and negative thoughts away from the film. It damages your eyes, it makes you restless, blah 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 blah. You smoke, it's bad for your health, but you enjoy it. Some people it de-stresses, so they say. There's good and bad in everything. Cars, driving is efficient, gets people from A to B much quicker, but walking in fresh air is healthier. Sure, it takes you longer. Driving is more efficient, but obviously pollution and the rest of it. Walking, biking could always be done a lot easier. Obviously, you have to set off to work earlier, which makes you more tired because you're getting less sleep. You get that extra half hour. You can be up, jump in a car, off to work. It's you take good and bad in everything. And we have to do that with the technology. We have to do that with the technology steps that we take. But again, the people that are developing all this, can we trust them? It's the same people who made the nuclear bomb. They made a bomb. What does a bomb do? A bomb's designed for blowing up places and killing people. Same as a gun. A gun's designed for ending life. You point the barrel, you pull the trigger, the bullet comes out. Execution. Things are made and designed for good and bad. And the balance has to be found, and that goes on to the technology. But I'm going to leave this podcast here for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, then obviously let me know. You can find me on my Facebook page or on my YouTube. My Facebook page is Nays Place or Nays Place. You can find me on there. You can find me anywhere. Find me anywhere. Talk to me. Let me hear your voice and opinions. But yeah, that is it for me today. As I say, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care, guys. Ta-ta for now.